Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like something had shifted, but you couldn't quite explain what? Not pain, not illness, just a strange sense that the man staring back at you is slowly becoming someone else. His shoulders a bit more rounded, his skin a bit looser, his voice maybe softer than it used to be. That quiet shift, right there, is how aging begins for many men. It doesn't crash in like a storm. It sneaks up like a shadow. And the truth is, most men over 70 don't notice the early signs of aging until someone else points them out, or until something serious happens. But here's the good news. Just because time is moving forward doesn't mean your strength, confidence, or sense of self has to fade with it. In fact, by noticing a few subtle changes early, you can stay in control of how you age, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally too. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 specific signs of aging in older men that often go unnoticed, until it's too late. Each one might seem small on the surface, but together, they quietly shape how men age, and how they feel about themselves each day. Let's start with the first one. It might already be showing on your face, right now, without you even realizing it. A friend of mine, Richard, just turned 74 last fall. We hadn't seen each other in over a year. When we finally met for coffee, the first thing I noticed wasn't his gray hair or the way he walked. It was his face. It looked tired, somehow heavier, even though he said he'd been sleeping well. His cheeks had lost their fullness, the corners of his mouth seemed to tilt downward, and his eyelids looked like they were slowly giving up. It wasn't sadness, it was gravity. We chatted about all kinds of things that morning, but what stayed with me was the way his face had quietly changed, like a slow erosion that no one warned him about. And he didn't even realize it until I mentioned it. Gently, of course. What Richard was experiencing is something I've seen in countless other aging men, especially after 70. The structure of the face starts to shift, not just the skin, but the muscles beneath it. Over time, the tiny muscles that once held everything up start to weaken. Collagen production drops. Fat pads beneath the skin shrink and shift downward, and the bones in the face even begin to lose density. All of this leads to what people often call a droopy or tired look, even when you're feeling just fine on the inside. This is one of the earliest but most overlooked signs of aging in older men. It's subtle at first. You might just think you look a little worn out. But the changes aren't just cosmetic. They affect how others perceive you, and sometimes how you perceive yourself. People might assume you're sad or exhausted, even when you're not. That affects relationships, social confidence, and sometimes even opportunities. But here's the good news. While you can't turn back time, you can support your face from the inside out. Gentle facial exercises just 5 minutes a day can help tone the muscles. Staying hydrated keeps the skin supple. Getting enough high-quality protein supports muscle maintenance, even in the face. And don't underestimate the power of a little moisturizer or sunscreen. Your skin still needs protecting, no matter your age. More importantly, noticing this change is the first step to owning it. Because how men age isn't just about what time does to them, it's about what they do in response. When Richard began a simple routine, just a morning massage, a collagen supplement, and a walk in the sun, he told me his wife started saying he looked more like himself again. And that's the point. Aging doesn't have to erase who you are. Sometimes it just needs a nudge back into balance. But what surprised me even more came next. Not something on the face, but something you might not even notice, until someone close to you brings it up. It started with a look, then a pause, and finally, a gentle question from his wife. Have you changed your soap recently? That's how it began for Gerald, a 76-year-old neighbor of mine. A man who took pride in being clean, presentable, always well-groomed. But lately, even after his usual morning shower, there was a faint, unfamiliar smell lingering around him. Not bad, just different. Musky, almost metallic. And no matter how carefully he scrubbed, it stayed. At first, he brushed it off. "I'm just sweating more," he told himself. But the truth is, something deeper was happening, something that's far more common than people think, yet rarely talked about. As we age, our body chemistry changes in ways most men don't expect. Hormone levels shift, especially testosterone, and with it, the composition of sweat alters. Skin regenerates more slowly, and the natural bacteria that live on it can multiply in different ways. Even the liver and kidneys, which help filter and detox the body, might not be working quite as efficiently as they once did. All of this can lead to subtle but noticeable changes in body odor. It's one of those aging symptoms in older men that people around you might pick up on before you do. And because it feels embarrassing, many avoid talking about it until it begins to affect their confidence in social settings, intimacy, or just being around family. But this isn't about being unclean. In fact, Gerald was doing everything right. What he needed was a shift in approach, one that aligns better with how the male body changes with age. We started small. I suggested switching to breathable cotton clothing, especially in warmer weather, to help the skin air out naturally. He added a magnesium-rich supplement to support detox pathways. And perhaps most importantly, we focused on gut health, because so many odor changes begin in the digestive system, not on the skin. A few weeks of probiotic yogurt and fiber-rich meals made a surprising difference. And just like that, the quiet discomfort faded. His wife stopped asking. He stopped worrying. He felt like himself again. What I've seen, again and again, is that these subtle shifts are not just signs of decline. They're gentle taps on the shoulder, your body's way of asking for a little extra care. And the next sign? It doesn't come from how you smell or how you look, but from how tall you stand, or rather, how much shorter you've quietly become. When Harold went in for his annual checkup last spring, the nurse asked him to stand against the wall for a quick height measurement. 5'9", she called out. Harold chuckled. That can't be right. I've been 5'11" since I was 21. He wasn't joking, but the number didn't lie. Like so many other men his age, Harold had just turned 77. He had quietly lost nearly 2 inches of height without ever noticing. No injury, no visible hunch, just a slow, quiet shrinking that snuck up on him 1 year at a time. It's one of the least talked about, but most telling shifts in the aging process in men. We often associate losing height with severe osteoporosis or dramatic spinal problems, but in reality, even healthy men begin to lose a little height starting in their 60s and 70s, sometimes without any pain or warning at all. The reason? It's not just the bones. The discs between the vertebrae start to dry out and compress. Posture slowly deteriorates, especially in men who sit for long periods or don't stretch regularly. Core muscles weaken, shoulders roll forward. And the result isn't just a slouch, it's an actual loss in stature. More than that, this change affects more than how your body looks. It changes how you move, how you breathe, even how your internal organs function. A compressed posture can reduce lung capacity, slow digestion, and make simple movements like bending down or reaching overhead feel suddenly awkward or exhausting. Harold told me he didn't realize how much shorter he was until he found himself needing to lower the rear-view mirror in his car, or when he struggled to reach the top shelf in his kitchen. At first, it was a nuisance. Then it started to feel like a reminder that his body was aging, even if he didn't feel old. But here's what I reminded him. Male body changes with age are natural, but they don't have to be one way. We started with 5 minutes of gentle stretching each morning, focusing on the spine and hips. Added a simple chair yoga routine twice a week, and swapped his soft lounge chair for one that encouraged better sitting posture. Over time, he didn't just feel taller, he stood taller. His breathing improved, his energy came back. It wasn't about gaining the 2 inches back, but about reclaiming the strength and openness in his frame. Still, some signs don't show up in your height, or your scent, or your face. Some signs sit right in front of you every day, and yet they're the one part of your body you probably never think about. Let's talk about your hands. It was a quiet afternoon when Joseph, 72, sat on the porch holding his grandson's hand. The little boy suddenly looked down and asked, "Grandpa, why do your hands look like tree bark?" Joseph laughed, but something inside him winced. He looked at his hands, dry, spotted, with veins more prominent than ever, and skin so thin it bruised at the lightest bump. He hadn't really noticed it before. After all, they still worked just fine. But that one innocent question stuck with him. The truth is, hands age faster than almost any other part of the body. They're constantly exposed to sunlight, weather, soap, cleaning chemicals, and unlike the face, they're rarely protected. Over time, skin on the hands loses collagen and fat, making veins and tendons stand out. Age spots appear from decades of sun exposure. The skin thins, and elasticity fades. It's one of those appearance changes after 70 that sneaks up, often overlooked, until someone else points it out. But there's something deeper going on here. Hands are more than tools. We see them all the time. They're in every handshake, every wave, every meal we share. And when they start to look older than the rest of us, it can quietly chip away at how we see ourselves. This is something what men over 70 should know. You don't need fancy products or expensive treatments to take care of your hands. You just need awareness and consistency. Joseph began with something simple. He left a small bottle of hand cream next to his toothbrush, applying it every night before bed. He started wearing lightweight gloves when gardening. Most importantly, he began using sunscreen on the backs of his hands, something he had never done before in his life. Within a few months, the change was subtle, but noticeable. The dryness eased, the spots faded slightly. But more than that, Joseph said he felt a little more whole, as if taking care of his hands reminded him that every part of him still mattered. And isn't that what aging with dignity is about? Not pretending we're young, but honoring what we've carried with us. Still, while some signs of aging are visible, like hands, others are more hidden. They creep into the way we speak, the speed of our sentences, the rhythm of conversation. The final sign I want to share with you is perhaps the most surprising of all, not because of how it looks, but because of how it sounds. During one of our Sunday family dinners, I noticed something unusual about my older brother, Alan. He's 75, still sharp, still kind-hearted. But that evening, as we passed dishes around and shared stories, he barely spoke. When he did, his words came slower than I remembered, not confused, not forgetful, just slower. After the meal, I gently asked him if he was feeling okay. He smiled and said, "I'm fine. I just don't talk as fast as you guys anymore." At first, I brushed it off as just being tired. But over the weeks, I began to see it more clearly. This gradual change in how he spoke, the pauses before thoughts, the slight hesitation in word choice, the softness in tone. It wasn't a speech problem. It was a quiet transformation, one of those subtle signs of aging that creeps in without warning. And it's more common than most men realize. As we age, the brain's processing speed naturally slows down. It doesn't mean you're losing your memory or slipping into dementia. It's simply part of how men age. Neurons take a bit longer to fire, word retrieval slows slightly, and the rhythm of conversation changes. The danger is not in the slowness itself, but in how we interpret it. Many older men begin to withdraw from conversations, not because they don't have something to say, but because they feel like they can't keep up. The world moves fast, and it's easy to feel left behind. But I've seen firsthand how powerful small steps can be. Alan started reading aloud for 5 minutes each morning, anything from the newspaper to his favorite novels. He began leaving voice memos for his grandkids, telling them stories from his childhood. Slowly, his speech found its strength again, not by speeding up, but by growing more confident. If your words are coming slower these days, don't let it silence you. Your voice still matters. Your stories still matter. And you deserve the space to be heard. Aging doesn't just show up in wrinkles or aches. It reveals itself in tone, in rhythm, in presence. And sometimes the quietest signs speak the loudest. Now that we've gone through these 5 often overlooked changes, you might be wondering, so what do we do with this awareness? Let's take a moment to wrap everything together and talk about how these gentle observations can lead to stronger, wiser, more intentional aging. Aging doesn't always knock loudly. Sometimes it's the soft creak in your back, the slower pace of your voice, or the way your hands quietly whisper what the years have held. These aren't flaws. They're not failures. They're the body's way of evolving, gently, naturally. The challenge is that most signs of aging in older men don't come with flashing lights or sirens. They show up in the mirror, in the pauses between words, in the way others look at you without saying a thing. And unless we're paying attention, we might miss them, until they've already shaped how we feel about ourselves. But here's the truth I hope you take with you. Noticing these signs isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom, of care, of self-respect. Because when you see what's shifting, you give yourself the power to respond, with grace, with strength, and with intention. You are not disappearing. You're just entering a different season, one that still holds value, dignity, and the ability to grow in new, meaningful ways. And the choice to age well? It's still yours, every single day. Thanks so much for being here with us today. We'd really love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us one thing you took away from this video and how you're planning to use it in your life. Your thoughts truly matter to us, and reading your comments gives us the energy to keep going. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who might need it. But there's something deeper going on here. Hands are more than tools. We see them all the time. They're in every handshake, every wave, every meal we share. And when they start to look older than the rest of us, it can quietly chip away at how we see ourselves.